Dear God, please let Starmer be on the way out, which means that people will think that reform is the only option left. But what most people don't know is that Farage is controlled opposition. That's what we're going to talk about in this clip. Why do you say treacherous? The reform government will be treacherous? Because I get lots of comments, people saying that reform is the answer. You know, they'll come and solve everything.
Well, Ben Habib, who's Advance UK,
Mm,
he was in reform. He's given a statement which backs up something I actually said a week and a bit ago with Dan Wharton in an interview that hasn't actually gone out yet. That I believe that Nigel Farage took money in 2019 for standing the Brexit Party down in the Tory seats.
Right.
And Ben Habib confirmed that he was fully aware of that, and that I believe that Nigel Farage is completely compromised, and that's why he's accepted in the mainstream media, because they've got him, and he doesn't look happy as an MP. It's his 8 attempts to get into the House of Commons. He finally get in there. He doesn't look very happy. Well, he won't be, because he's compromised and he's not his own man. He's I'm afraid a rotten apple, which wanted to rise and has now risen to the top of potentially to the top of the barrel. But that's because he's already rotten.
Yeah, I mean, but doesn't that make just sense there, Rich, what he's saying right now?
yeah.
If you were the enemy and you saw a disruptive force starting to form on the political diaspora of the UK, would you not then immediately start vectoring infiltrators into that movement and involve yourself in compromise in order to make it look like an organic movement that was really hell-bent on reform and writing the ledger, yet you had your folks inside that at the right time would short circuit the entire thing? I mean, that's exactly what I would do.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the pantomime of UK politics, of the two-party system, the red and the blues, it has become so tired. It's a bit like a soap opera, and they had to bring in a new character, and that was Nigel Farage. But it doesn't mean that he wasn't from the cast, and he's going to play his part. I personally, this is what I believe. I believe that Nigel loves to be popular. You'll notice he's not promising much, despite the fact that they're ahead in the polls, and they had some very good local election results that Rich has talked about. But that's because they were just seen as the least worst option. Well, I mean, where the state of the country now, the least worst option isn't good enough. And as soon as there's something better, that support for reform nationally, which has been dropping for over 12 months now, I mean, it's 2 miles wide and a quarter inch deep. That's all it is. And I think that Restore Britain is a better option, but we need time. It's whether the globalists, they know that, whether they're going to give us the time to form a proper party and get some structure in and some coverage across the country, or if they're going to cut and run with a general election. And the more chaos we see in this government, the more they're laying the groundwork, that the possibility, and I think it's a very strong possibility, that perhaps Starmer's going to say in 4 weeks' time, actually, nobody can take over from me, and they don't want me, so we better have a general election. Or, I mean, there are rumours he's already threatening his backbenchers with that threat to try and keep them in line, because they know that, I don't know, 80% of them would be out of a job 6 weeks later.
Yeah, and before they're out of a job, if that happens, or it may already be accelerating now, they're going to try and get as much for themselves into their pockets as they can, because that's human nature.
Well, we always have a saying that the turkeys generally don't vote for Christmas, do they?
Yeah. No, but what I'm talking about is like they're going to want to try and steal as much as they can while they still can, and then.
Well, we actually have managed to stop talking of stealing. We managed to stop the Chagos deal. That isn't in the King's Speech, so that was a win. But I mean, that was just such a blatant fraud against the taxpayer. I mean, it was really, if they could get away with that, I mean, there's nothing they couldn't get away with.
Yeah, but we knew about that. I'm talking about all the stuff they'll do privately, quietly
Yes, the
themselves
things
as
that we don't know
individuals.
that they're doing, all the little side deals.
Yeah, and then one thing that you alluded to that I think is really important: Nigel Farage and Zia Yusuf, they're on mainstream TV. They go on BBC Question
Yeah.
Time. You don't.
I don't. Rupert Lowe's not allowed.
Rupert Lowe
And
doesn't,
what I honestly
but
think
Zach
is
Polanski does as well, and he's a
never
Mamdani.
trust a man who has an assumed name. His real name was David Paulden, and he changed his name to Zach Polanski.
Why?
Well, exactly. Well, I mean, what have you got to hide? A bit like Mohammed Zia Yusuf, who's got the first name, the most popular first name in the country, and then changed it just to Zia Yusuf at the age of 38. I mean, why? Why?
Yeah.
He'll be the next prime minister. I'd make a prediction. I don't think it's going to happen, but if Nigel Farage and Reform did win the next general election, I have a bet with you that Nigel will say, after 35 years in frontline politics, I've got health problems. I'm going to stand down before the fizz is running out of the champagne after the victory.
Yeah.
And it will be Mohammed Zia Yusuf will be your prime minister.
Game, set, match.
Yeah.
Right there. Right there.
That's the kick in the teeth for the Reform voters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is what they do. And meanwhile, all of them, meaning all of them, the bad guys, are going to print the hell out of the currency. They're going to inflate everybody so that, a dozen eggs will cost you 12 pounds. And they're going to take that money, they're going to convert it into hard assets and complete the great theft as they go for their resets. This is what they view as is coming. What I think that they've underestimated completely is where people are on their two continuums. One, the awakening continuum. I think they've underestimated that. Two, the I'm pissed off and I'm not going to take it anymore continuum. And I think they've completely misjudged people, especially in Europe, because Europeans, by and large, this is no offense, it was engineered since the end of World War II, have been pacified with policies and social programs and all kinds of things in schools. And so the tolerance level for tyranny is very high in the continent. But I think that the bad guys have underestimated where people sit on the continuum. I am watching folks that I have known in Europe, in Germany, Austria, these types of people who would have argued to me to the death about how their little village is going to take care of them cradle to grave, and you Americans are idiots, and why don't you understand the value of a 30-day vacation and all these things? I don't think they're in that place anymore. In fact, from talking to them recently, they're much more awake about what has happened to them.
If you enjoyed this video, you can find the whole clip right here. And don't forget to sign up for my free newsletter. Links in the description below.